You're probably, it's like when we have Ryan Kelly on, the last thing he wants to talk about is mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, well, talk about mortgages. He's like, no, let's talk about mountain climbing or something.
Right.
So with you, not only here, but you're like a doctor. People are always like, oh, you're a divorce attorney.
Yes.
Let me ask you this about my husband's 401k, right?
Sometimes it's the shop talk at a cocktail party, or my husband's brother's cousin did this, or
Although you're interesting at least. I
mean, it's good stories.
Yeah, right. Most people are like, what do you do? Like, oh, I'm in the debit and credit department. And you're like, oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So some questions. In my show prep yesterday, it said, kind of one of those teaser headlines, baby boomers getting divorced in droves.
Yeah.
Do you guys see any truth to this?
I think that's true. I don't know that it's that specific, but we do see baby boomers are going to be what? Our age?
God, I hope not. I'm in the very last year of baby boomers. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm right there with you. I would say yes, and the problems have come, I think, literally with the generation that we have being so social media tied in, connecting, electronically, and things start that people don't expect. And the other thing is the swing in the market, the swing in the housing market, things like that. People are in the kind of debt and upside down positions that we have never been in. And that's been for the last going on 10 years.
So lots of unhappiness, lots of other opportunities.
Right.
The recipe.
Always somebody looking to help you out and be a friend.
So over your long career in divorce, typically, what's the cause? What's the number one cause? Is it another person?
No. I would say equally it's kids and sex. And it might be no sex with each other.
Right.
But
too much sex
as opposed to just the straight up affairs and things. But the other thing is raising kids and money. So those three things are your top three reasons. Because they're so intense.
Yeah.
They're so fraught with 180s in terms of how people want to do things. There's a lot of people that will put their kids between the couple instead of keeping the couple first, and the kids are your little blessings that go along.
I think I'm completely guilty of that, and I think that is probably the vast majority of our generation. When we were kids, we were lucky to make it in the car when you're going to the IHOP, right? And now it's like, I don't feel like going to IHOP. Like, oh my God, where do you feel like going?
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. And people forget that there should be date night for the parents, instead of, oh, my kid wants to do this, or my kid's in select 10 billion things. And so instead of the visual that I do is, instead of parents holding hands in the middle and holding their children's hands on the outside of that couple, the parents are putting the kids holding hands between them.
Yeah.
And there's a balance that has gotten very, very lost in this generation.
Same with your generation, Tom?
Yeah, I would say that's accurate. I had a question about mediators. Do you offer mediation? So you smile like this is not the first time you've heard this question. I know that a lot of times attorneys are the mediator as well, and you always have to, I think, get an attorney at the end. But
correct.
But
not at the end.
I know I've seen people go through the process and use a mediator instead of going straight to an attorney. What's your thoughts on that? Is it
works.
A positive thing, a negative thing?
Yes. Yes and yes.
Okay.
The mediation is a plan that works best when the parties are on what I call an even playing field. Everyone knows the financial situation. Everyone, meaning both parties in the couple, know all the lights are on in the room. There's not where one person ran the whole checkbook and all the money and the other person just got an allowance or a charge card. So mediation doesn't work if there's an uneven playing field. It doesn't work in domestic violence situations. It can work great in parenting, can work great in custody situations. It can lessen hostility, it can lessen the adversarial piece. I would say, with regards to your comment about getting an attorney at the end, I do what's called mediation coaching. I don't do mediation myself, but I tell people that come in and say, this is something I'm considering. I ask them those background questions about the level playing field kind of thing, and then tell them, a good mediator will tell you from the get-go you need your own counsel. But we then, as individual counsel, do the mediation coaching, which is how to prepare your client for what's going to come up in mediation, what the proper range of results should look like so somebody doesn't get swamped in a mediation. Because it's not the mediator's job to protect either party.
Right.
Did you find this? I found this in my 10 years of practicing law, that whether it was corporate or it was litigation or toward the end of my career it was the divorce stuff, there was a huge power in just letting someone be heard, whether it was in a mediation or it was in front of a judge, and especially in divorce where so much is emotional. People, like, you would let them get the venom out to someone who seemed to care and have some semblance of authority, and they would just physically, like, okay.
Right, they get their moment.
Now
and
yes.
A really good mediator will control that event and will let it happen, but they control so that it doesn't get into a crazy train screaming match.
So if a split is civil, and like you said, there's nobody's hiding anything, and you're not in a complete hatred.
Everybody's got a job.
Yeah.
Everybody's got money.
Would you recommend it? Is it a good path to take in a situation like that?
Yes.
But
Yes.
if there's any contention,
If someone's manipulable, it's a bad.
Right.
Yeah.
And definitely you still have to have your own lawyer, even if you're civil.
Yeah.
You should have your own lawyer just to make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Another thing too that was absolutely a thing, from my first year until my final year, attorneys are afraid to go to trial.
Most of them.
Most of them are afraid to go to trial. And no one who you interview is going to tell you that. You're not going to go into an attorney's office and say, let me tell you this, I'm really expensive, I'm terrified to go to trial. But you'll know eventually, if your attorney's pushing you to settle for something that you're not comfortable with, that guy's afraid to go to trial.
That can be the case sometimes.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure as the client that you are listening to what the attorney's saying in terms of, if you go to trial, the court can only do this much under the law. You can be far more creative in a settlement than you can be in trial. The judge is limited to what the law provides, what the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals has said you can do. In a settlement, people, with the assistance of their lawyers, can come up with a lot more creative results, and there may be an opportunity for a lawyer to say, it's not going to be good for you if you go to trial. It's not going to be better for you.
Yeah.
It could, in fact, be worse for you. It doesn't mean I'm afraid to go to trial. It means you need to be afraid to go to trial based on your set of facts.
My
And usually there's a
recommendation
cover yourself letter that goes with that.
for a divorce attorney, I'm familiar with that letter. I've sent them and received them. Go to stlfamilylaw.com for Susan O'Ward. Thank you, Susan.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, good.
Really good.
the reason I asked that